handle business with them USA citizens.
Daniel Ben Yaakov.
I'm Hiskia Israel.
I'm Zari Ben.
Today we're going to continue on in a series that I was putting together concerning the laws of the Most High and how the so-called New Testament does not do away with those laws. In this lesson, we're going to cover the clean and unclean laws in regards to food. And we'll be dealing with the book of Matthew or Mattithyahu, chapter 15 and verse 11. We'll also be dealing with 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 25. So let's get right into it. I don't want to waste any more time. Let's get into it and tackle some of these things. You know, like I said before, I didn't think that I would have to, go through this stuff. We call these types of lessons Israelite 101 teachings. This is some of the stuff that I learned when the Most High first called me out of the world. What I did was actually go through the so-called New Testament and, I examined it and proved the Tanakh from the New Testament. That's how I was called out, and that's how the Most High woke me up. Like I mentioned before in the other lesson, it bothers me when brothers, who identify themselves as Israelites, teach against the laws of the Most High, because that's Christianity. All right, and that's a religion that was made up by our adversaries.
Okay.
All right, so it's sad because it shows that brothers haven't been awakened or haven't been taught these scriptures the way they're supposed to be taught. And so that's what we aim to do right now. And we're going to prove these, y'all willing, we're going to prove these things beyond the shadow of a doubt. And if anyone has any rebuttals or questions, contact us. We're only dealing with these two scriptures here. We're going to break these down and bring understanding on them. We're not dealing with other topics. One scripture in particular that will be coming soon is Colossians chapter 2. We'll be dealing with Colossians chapter 2 verse 16, and we're going to go through that chapter and break that down on the next lesson. But for now, let's get Mattithyahu chapter 15. Let's begin there. Brother Hiskiyahu, start at verse 1. No, read verse 11 for him.
Verse 11. Mattithyahu 15 chapter, verse 11. Not that which goes into the mouth defiles the man, but that which comes out of the mouth, this defiles the man. Okay, so if a person might read that scripture, I've had this read to me many a times, that scripture or that verse will be cherry picked. And that'll be read and they'll shut the book and say, hey, that means you can eat whatever you want to eat. But that's the farthest thing from the truth. So what we're going to do is go through and teach the scripture, teach the whole chapter the way it should be taught. All right, so let's start at verse 1. And he's reading from the Scriptures translation. I have the King James, and maybe on the way through this we can compare both translations. All right. Mattithyahu 15 chapter. Then there came to Yahushua, scribes and Pharisees from Jerusalem, saying, why do your taught ones transgress the law, the traditions of the elders? For they do not wash their hands when they eat bread. Now,
they ask, why do your disciples translate the tradition of the elders? Did it say the law of the Most High? They didn't ask him that. They said the tradition of the elders, which is the oral tradition. And that's where we get our Talmud and our rabbinical Judaism from. Okay, so this isn't the topic at hand is what? Read that verse again.
Why do your taught ones transgress the tradition of the elders? For they do not wash their hands when they eat bread.
All right. So that's the question that's on the table. It's not. They didn't ask why are your disciples eating the pork chop? All right. Why are they eating clam chowder? Okay. They didn't ask that. Read on.
But he answering said to them, why do you also transgress the commandment of Elohim because of your traditions?
See, they transgress the commandments or the laws of the Most High by their traditions. All right, and another thing, it was not a debatable topic amongst the Yahudim or amongst the Jews that if you can eat clean and unclean meat. Okay, that was something that was already understood. That's something that any Jew could agree on.
Okay.
So that was never up for debate. Read on.
For Elohim has commanded, saying, respect your father and your mother, and he who curses father or mother, let him be put to death. But you say, whoever says to his father or mother, whatever profits you may have received from me has been dedicated, is certainly released from respecting his father or mother.
Go ahead.
So you have nullified the commandment of Elohim by your tradition.
See? So he's getting on them about pushing these traditions, and one tradition is the washing of hands before you eat. Okay? And so he's getting on them about that. He's actually supporting the law here. Okay? Because he's accusing them, or he's getting on them about breaking the commandments of the Most High by pushing their traditions.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hypocrites, Yeshayahu rightly prophesies about you, saying, this people draw near to me with their mouth and respect me with their lips, but their heart is far from me.
Go ahead.
But in vain they worship me, teaching the commandments of men.
Okay.
And calling the crowd near, he said to them, hear and understand. Now that which goes into the mouth defiles a man, but that which comes out of the mouth, this defiles the man. Now
keep in mind, they're not talking about food here. They're talking about eating with dirty hands. And we've all done it. You know, I've eaten things. I walked out and picked an apple or something and ate it. You know, children have played. It's not a harmful thing to do this. Children play in the dirt. You know, and it actually, if you study these things out, you'll find that dirt can actually help a child build up their immune system. Antibiotics are, not that I'm in support of antibiotics, but they make antibiotics from the soil. And what they do is they extract the moisture that's in the soil and use a chemical, and they replace that natural moisture of the soil with this man-made chemical, and it creates a mutant bioorganism, which goes on a killing spree. You know, when you take these antibiotics, they go into your body and just kill up everything they can find, and they do a lot of other sick things. But my point is, in the dirt, in the soil that we're made from, the dust, there's things in it that can actually help us. So dirt, you know, it isn't a. Now I'm not telling people to go out and eat dirt, but getting dirt and ingesting dirt is not harmful to the body, and it can actually be helpful to the body.
And also, I like to add, you know, I'm like looking at it, Yehoshua, he was actually telling the Pharisees off, because he was like, you know, I'm sure it was a known thing that the Pharisees was walking around just dictating, being very strict with the word. It was like, just because they eating without washing their hands, that's not defiling them. Yeah. But look what coming out of your mouth.
Exactly.
You defiling yourself.
Yeah.
And they just didn't have the common sense to know that he was talking about them right away.
Yeah.
But he was talking about them. What's coming out of your mouth defiling you. Because you nullifying Yah's laws and commandments with your traditions.
That's right. Let's get on to that. Go ahead.
All right, where am I? All right.
verse 12.
Verse 12. Then his taught ones came and said to him, do you know that the Pharisees stumbled when they heard this word? But he answering said, every plant which my heavenly Father has planted shall be uprooted. Leave them alone. They are blind leaders of the blind. And if the blind leads the blind, both shall fall into a ditch.
That's right.
And Kepha answering said to him, explain this parable to us. And Yehoshua said, are you also still without understanding? Do you not understand that whatever enters into the mouth goes into the stomach and is cast out into the sewer?
Right. So if a person has some small particles of dirt on their hands when they eat, I mean, I'm sure they wouldn't even, you could hardly see it, but that's gonna, if you ingest that, that's just gonna get passed out. All right. He's not talking about a pork chop. That was never the topic here.
No.
Okay. Read on.
But what comes out of the mouth comes from the heart, and these defile the man.
Go ahead.
For out of the heart comes forth wicked reasoning, murders, adulteries, whorings, thefts, false witnessings, slanders. These defile the man. But to eat with unwashed hands does not defile the man.
All right. To eat with unwashed hands. That's the topic. That's what we're talking about here. Not to eat a pork chop. Mm-hmm. Okay. And notice out in verse 19, he says false witness. Okay. All right. That defiles a man. So if a person is teaching that you should eat unclean food, which isn't really classified as food in our eyes, no. That's not food for us. But if you eat all these abominable animals, or if you teach that you could do that, that's being a false witness. Because the scriptures never teach that.
Hey.
All right.
21 verse.
I think we're done with that. We can move on. We've proven that point there. And the Mashiach said in verse 20 that to eat with unwashed hands does not defile the man.
That's right.
All right. He's not even talking about unclean foods or unclean meats.
So it's important, like if you're listening to any like Christian practitioner that just want to touch on one verse about whatever enters the mouth does not defile the man, and what's come out that's defile the man, and they leaving it like as that, I advise you guys to actually read a couple of verses down so you can get the gist of the meaning. Because you got to be like, hey, it got to be more to it, because it contradicts the Torah about eating unclean food if they trying to take it into that direction. Yeah.
Or do what we just did. Start at verse 1 and go through it. Yeah. It's all about context. And many people, you will catch a lot of false teachers in this. And some people are just doing it out of ignorance. So, as far as Mattithyahu chapter 15, verse 11, the understanding has been brought on that passage there, and we can move on.